Shall we begin? Namaste and welcome to this Parivartan Parisambad. It's your moderator Vijaya Nepal. Today, Parivartan Ka Pailaharu has organized this session, and this is hosted by one of its Center for Study of Juridical Science. And today we are supported by Chaitanya Legal Service and Research Center. In present context, entire globe seems to be affected by COVID-19. And we have reported cases from 188 countries and partial and full lockdown in 177 countries. And South Asia is also one of the areas under its high infection, and we are facing this lockdown. This lockdown is affecting various sides of society, including functioning of judiciary and delivery of justice. So in this situation, today we are virtually gathered here with advocates from 3 South Asian countries who would be helping us to understand COVID-19 and its impact in judiciary in difference of Nepal, Bangladesh, and India. So without further delay, let's welcome our guest for today's session. From Bangladesh, we have Advocate Sakal Imon, a law practitioner from Supreme Court and who is doing his work mostly in fundamental rights sector. Welcome you, sir. And secondly, we have from India, Advocate Anurag Singh. He is also a law practitioner in Supreme Court. And from Nepal, we have Advocate Praveen Subedi. He is a law practitioner in Supreme Court, and he is also teaching faculty of Kathmandu School of Law. So let's begin our session. Our session will be more in question-answer model, where our guest would be answering same question based upon situation of their country. So let's go alphabetically. First of all, I would like to welcome Advocate Sakal Imon from Bangladesh. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Bangladesh seems to be in continuous lockdown since March 26. So how is situation of judiciary in present day? How is it functioning, and what are steps being taken for normalization of this situation?
From 26, it is almost completely no operation in the courts, because that our courts are closed. I would rather say there was no hearing is holding on in Supreme Court or any other district court in Bangladesh, because Supreme Court actually follows the circular of the government. So basically, they followed the circulars of the government. The way the government is pronouncing their holidays, the Supreme Court is also pronouncing their holidays for the all subordinate courts of this country. But on May 2009, our president has promulgated a new ordinance for mitigating the situation of this COVID-19, basically, but it was the earlier plan. Our president promulgated a new ordinance for facilitating virtual hearing of court, because in our country there was no provision of virtual hearing before this ordinance. So after this, in court, district court level and in Supreme Court, we have started virtual hearing. Mostly in the first stage, our Supreme Court directed all the subordinate courts to start hearing only bail matters. That is, those who are in custody. We lawyer had a chance to get them out by filing bail application, because like India, Bangladesh is very populated country and courts are mostly crowded. So our Supreme Court initially thought of maintaining social distance, but from senior lawyers' perspective, it was not healthy decision. That's why Supreme Court postponed that resolution and waited to promulgate virtual hearing ordinance by the president. So after promulgation, courts have started sharing bail application only in the courts, and there is a formation of a new website for the lower judiciary, and the lawyers are now capable of filing only bail application from their home by scanning the petition and by undertaking the liability of that petition. And for hearing, our judiciary is considering Zoom software and Microsoft Teams software for hearing. In Supreme Court, we'll also have this kind of facilities, but in Supreme Court, two other benches. One bench is established for civil matters, and other bench establishes for criminal matters. And like the district courts, Supreme Court also facilitated the hearing of different matters in Zoom software and Microsoft Teams software.
Thank you, sir. It seems like we are going to next step in Bangladesh, and now we are going to do a virtual session of court, and we are going through this internet functioning in the court session. Thank you so much, sir. Similarly, we have our next guest from India, Advocate Anurag Singh. I'd like to ask you same question. India is also under lockdown since last March. So how is the situation over there? How is judiciary handling, and what are the steps being taken for normal activities in the judiciary?
India is in lockdown since 22nd of March. So in India, we have duty magistrates, or some, even in the holidays also, we have one or two benches running. So for the urgent matters, similar thing was followed in Supreme Court, in High Court, and in District Court also. As happening in Bangladesh, from the beginning only, we were accepting bail matters. So it has urgent bail application, and a petition has to be prepared and sent online. They have given mail IDs. So on that mail ID, we give the petition, and that is listed for the next date. And we have a software called Cisco WebEx. So with that platform, either a link is given to the advocate, or otherwise also what we have in the courts only, we have some room kind of thing where advocates can go and they can argue their matters online. So the judge will be either in his own court, or he will be at his home and managing from there. So this is how it is running, and only bail matters were being taken. In district court, still bail matters are only being taken, but in High Court and Supreme Court, other urgent matters have also been started being taken. Like from this 22nd only, all the benches of our High Court in Delhi, they are hearing urgent matters from all spheres. And I have some data regarding the situation, what has happened in India. So just to tell you, inform you all, like till last year, 2019, average cases per month that were filed in India were almost 14 lakh, and average cases disposed were around 13.25 lakh. But since the COVID hit the world, and it saw a kind of drop. So in the first 4 months of 2020, the average cases were filed around 9 lakh per month, and average cases disposed were around 8.3 lakh per month. But in the month of March, it decreased further, and the total number of cases that were filed is around 8.8 lakh, and the total number of cases disposed of in the month of March is 6.3 lakh. And since from 22nd of March we are having lockdown, so in the month of April, only 82,725 cases were filed, out of which only 35,169 cases have been disposed of. That means this 82,000 is basically the bail matters, or the very urgent matters that have been taken. And at present, in district courts, we are having just bail matters, and in High Court and Supreme Court, urgent matters are being filed. And we filed our petition, and then they publish the cause list, and in the bottom of the cause list, they also mention the name and number of the reader, the ahilmat, and the court staff of the particular judge whose duty is there on that particular day. So we can directly call them and communicate as to when is the time for, like, they give time slots. So it's a kind of flexible. We can we can argue at some other time also, like either in the morning or in the afternoon, depending upon the situation. So this is how current situation is going on, and probably we are expecting that in the month of June, probably we'll be having this court system normalized, and probably all the benches will be sitting and taking all those sort of matters.
Thank you, sir. So you're expecting all the matters would be taken from June. So you have also mentioned about this virtual system where you have a separate software that would be handling the cases. So how is this thing going on? You have also mentioned about a separate room in court where these lawyers could be doing a virtual meeting with the judge. So how is this technology helping the lawyers? Are the lawyers and the judges this technology friendly? Is there any problem regarding implementation of this technology?
Exactly. Personally, my experience was not very good, because the thing is, it has been introduced all of a sudden. The infrastructure that is required for such kind of virtual hearing is not proper. It's like temporary arrangement, so we cannot expect that level of communication or that level of fluency. There are sometimes what I like in my recent experience. What happened that there was a bail matter listed, so I went there. I argued the matter, but what happened? I could not hear what the state had opposed or what the state had said, and I came to know about the fate or whatever their reply was only after the order came. So sometimes it happens that there are some lacunas, or sometimes it happens that we are not able to communicate our best selves. So it happens. It is not that fluent. It is not that good as of now. But somehow, looking at the situation, something is better than nothing.
Yes. As you have already mentioned, thousands of cases are being solved through this virtual media. This is very good initiation. So thank you so much, sir. Next, we have Advocate Praveen Subedi from Nepal. Hello, sir.
Hello.
I'd be asking same question to you as well. You are a practitioner in Supreme Court. So how is the situation in judiciary in Nepal? How are the cases being handled, and what are the steps being taken for normalizing the situation?
Yeah, in regard to Nepal, Nepalese court was the first institution in Nepal which had closed down its services prior to the government lockdown. Because 1 week prior to the government, it's not 1 week, it's like 4 days prior, government stated lockdown 4 days later after the court. Because there are large number of people who are constantly visiting to court, and to avoid the situation of the pandemic being spread, and to avoid to maintain the social distancing, Court of Nepal had halted its services 4 days earlier. And we do not have any kind of ordinances, because we lawyer and other stakeholders, they were like constantly asking for ordinance or laws to be enacted, because Parliament has already been resumed in Nepal. So we asked for ordinance or Parliament-made law to address the situation of limitation, to address the situation of other issues that should be coped up by judiciary, but the parliamentarian or government was reluctant in issuing such kind of ordinances. And now today we received, just now when you were talking about India and Bangladesh, I was just going through the decision of 19 members, 19 justices gave their decision today to minimize or to address the situation of limitation, to address the situation of remote hearing or video conferencing and all. So it has directed the administration of court to start or initiate with the system of electronic mechanism or digital mechanism of getting the judicial services. And what we have been doing is that our Court of Nepal, from the initiation of this lockdown, has been receiving and hearing the cases related to habeas corpus, and also related to COVID-19. Any kind of decision that government makes in regard to COVID-19 is challenged in Supreme Court. Any reluctance or any inactivity that government has not been doing in relation to COVID-19 has been put forward in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has almost gave about 12 orders in regard to COVID-19, in relation to health facility, in relation to right to return of migrant worker or any people or citizen of Nepal who are stranded abroad. So there are a lot of decisions that Supreme Court of Nepal and other appellate or High Court has been doing in this period of time. And we have also been we are also practicing the bail hearing, and also the Constitution has mandated the person who is arrested to be presented in front of court by within 24 hours. So we are doing those kind of processes constantly. And in regard to the 24-hour hearing, our court has also started video conferencing. Like police, they need not visit to the court with physical presence of that accused, but they can do it by video conferencing. But in regard to video conferencing and this kind of electronic hearing, there are challenges like the defense attorney, they are not being able to intervene in those kind of hearing because of video conferencing, and they do not have access to that video conferencing or digital hearing. And also in regard to security of those hearing, because we are using all kind of software like Zoom or Skype. We do not have uniform software or uniform mechanism to do this kind of hearing in all courts of Nepal. So there are certain challenges, but still, like our court, and after today's order that has been given by 19 judges, all the sitting judges of Supreme Court has given an order with mentioning how to cope up with this situation regarding the suspension of limitation or suspension of time that the stakeholders should have visited the court. So hopefully, if the situation does not normalizes, our court will start with the digital or video conferencing or any kind of electronic hearing as soon as possible. I'm hopeful on that as well.
Thank you, sir. It seems like courts from all these countries are going towards digital mechanism in judiciary to help these technical issues running due to COVID-19. We have many viewers from Facebook Live who are watching us. We are thankful to them, and we also hope that they will be participating. They would be asking in the comment section. We will be welcoming their questions. Furthermore, let's move to this another important issue. In the COVID-19 lockdown period, security of fundamental rights seems to be very challenging in all these three countries. Issues like right to food, right to health, right to housing, and also right of migrant workers and rights of refugees are under discussion. So, Advocate Taklani Monsar, how are Judiciary and Human Rights Commission of Bangladesh working during this COVID-19 period?
Till today, I would say what you have mentioned some rights, migrant rights, right to health, and other things. But in virtual court in Bangladesh, the first matter which was brought before attention of the court was regarding preservation of nature. In our High Court division, one of our colleague filed a writ petition for saving the dolphin. There is a river named there's a district in Chittagong, and in this Chittagong there is a river named Halda River, and it is a natural places for breeding of fish, and dolphins are coming here. So some people's killed some dolphins. So one of our colleagues filed a writ petition for saving the dolphins of the Halda River, and court responded the matter and issued rule and asking the government to know them the status, and the court also formed a committee, and court was also asking a report. So except this writ petition, there's another writ petition filed by a non-government organization. They are also seeking enforcement of personal protective equipment by the doctors, because in Bangladesh, when COVID started, we had no such good stock of PPE, because no country, I think, have this PPE, because in COVID situation, doctors are more vulnerable and they are the front fighters. So one of the NGOs filed that petition, and court today also passed an order. And apart from these two writ petitions, there was in fact no other movement in a human rights arena before the High Court Division for Enforcement of Fundamental Rights. You have asking, you're telling about the rights of migrants. We see in our government, in our country, our government took initiative, and they are also allowing the migrants to come in, because you see that in Bangladesh, lockdown situation was not very much good earlier, because when government declared the public holiday, but government on the other hand tried to brought back their migrant workers who were scheduled to come, and government allowed them to enter, so there was no problem at all. So government was taking good initiatives, so that's why there was no such violation. And our prime minister also issued some financial packages for health, and financial packages for food, because there was a festival held in Bangladesh, Eid ul Fitr, and before Eid ul Fitr, our prime minister our prime minister distributed some financial packages among the poor. So that issue was also not brought before the High Court division. There is some violation, and I think some right activists are planning to take initiative, because two of the journalists who are now arrested under Digital Security Act in Bangladesh, because they have posted some comments in Facebook, and which was not actually in line with the government decision. So government was thinking that they have violated the Digital Security Act. I think some of the right activists are thinking that this is not proper, because there is always, or should have always, a opportunity to criticize the government. So this incident, and this incident has happened, but it was not actually addressed by our High Court division yet, because nobody filed any application. So I think apart from these two writ petitions, there are some writ petitions and which are only private matters. So some government authorities also not passing any decisions. So that's why some business firms and companies felt that yes, they need to seek attention of the High Court division. That's why they filed writ petition for their own relief. But from rights perspective, no, there was no such petition yet filed before the High Court division. If filed, then I could tell you. But another thing, one of the lawyer also filed a writ petition for ensuring the health security of the prisoners of Bangladesh, and that writ petition also, I think, actively considering by the High Court division. But apart from these, because our district court are giving bails, so the burden in the prison was not so heavy, but because lawyers are getting bail order, and in Bangladesh almost 18,000 bails are granted all across the countries. So in that perspective, that order was also not so urgent. I think court did not feel so urgent in passing that order. That's why there was no urgent hearing. But one of the lawyers filed a petition for safe health of the prisoners. That's it.
Thank you, sir. It seems like government is providing this financial package for the protection of health and for the protection of right to food of people. And similarly, this, if what you have mentioned, this 18,000 people were bailed. And what I have read from these documents is that in Bangladesh, since the beginning, bail-related procedures were being conducted. Bail-related procedure and criminal procedures were being conducted by the court. So by this, burden of prison was also reduced, and in some matter, this spread of COVID-19 in prison was also preserved. So these were the steps taken by the Judiciary and Human Rights Commissions of Bangladesh. Thank you so much, sir.
From Human Rights Commission, there was no activity we have found yet, because I think Human Rights Commission also observing the government activities. So in our country, Human Rights Commission rarely do something proactively. What what activities do or done or we have seen that is done by our lawyers community or some NGOs. In our country, Human Rights Commission do not work proactively, and there is a lot of things to say about them. So I think this is not the forum to tell about or criticize to them.
Yes. Yes, sir. So lawyers are filing PIL, and the 3 PILs are filed regarding human rights in the judiciary. So in that way, human rights are being protected. Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to move to Anurag sir from India. I'd like to repeat same question. How are these fundamental rights are being protected in India by judiciary and human rights commissions, and as well as lawyer society?
Thank you. In India, the government as well as the judiciary has been very proactive since the beginning, and it is very well known that from when we had just 100 cases, from then only we have been seeing this lockdown. So in our country, the courts automatically they suo motu to the cognizance. There wasn't any need for some advocate to file any PIL. The court themselves took suo motu cognizance regarding the same, and the government is doing good work from the beginning only. And I think everyone must be knowing about India that our Prime Minister has released almost 20 lakh crore of funds for COVID relief, and also that various state governments and center, they are coordinating with each other. So in the first phase, like this is 4th phase of lockdown in India. In the first phase, it was around 22 days. So in that, it was requested that everyone should stay where they are, and for their food and other things, some small amount, maybe like 500 or 2,000 or 5,000, like this, depending upon the states, they sent directly to the accounts of people. And further, additional rations was provided. Like people get twice in a month ration through their ration card. But apart from that also, people were eligible to take rations from the ration center twice a month. And apart from that, after that, like after the first lockdown, the government has also initiated to bring back the migrant laborers and workers who are working at some other part of country. So special trains are being run, special buses are being run, so that they may reach their hometown or their villages or from wherever they come from. And as far as human rights are concerned, I think the government is taking best care of it, and the doctors and the police services, everyone is doing best job they can do. And further, the high courts of different states, according to the situation in their state, they have made high powered committees. Like in Delhi, state of Delhi, a high powered committee was formed, and they have, from time to time, they have been releasing their resolutions. So like in the first meeting, they had passed the resolution that under trial prisoners or those who have served quite a long time in jails, they were to be released. Like a list was automatically prepared by the jail officials itself. There was no need for bail to be filed by the advocate. A list was prepared by the jail authorities, and the prisoners was released on the personal bonds. After that, another meeting was held, and a resolution was passed that prisoners, under trial prisoners, or who are facing trial for crimes in which punishment is less than 7 years, so their bails were considered. Now in the recent on 18th of May, resolution was passed. Even people who are charged of murder, their bail is also being considered. Interim bail is considered for 45 days. They have put 2 conditions: that he should have the person who is under trial or in jail, he should have clear antecedent. That means he should not have any other case, and other criteria is that he should be in jail for more than 2 years. So such prisoners are being released. And so time to time, the government as well as judiciary they are doing their job in the best possible way. So I think there is no human rights violation as such as of now. And probably if there is some there are some incidences that some laborers are moving by foot and they are traveling. So in India, the number of such migrant laborers is almost 10 crores. That is a huge number, and it is quite difficult to manage all of it. But still, the governments, the judiciary, and the police, everyone is trying their best to solve the situation which is prevailing at the meantime. And I'm happy to say that we have been successful to a great extent. And quarantine centers have been made from the beginning itself. Every district has 2 or 3 quarantine centers. The laborers who are coming from different places are being put there for around 14 days, or even if they are allowed, they are being taken an undertaking that they will stay away from the family or in a separate room. In villages, they are staying outside their villages. The primary schools, which are completely shut, they are being used as quarantine centers. So the people who are coming from outside, the laborers, they are staying in the primary schools which are located outside the village or near the village. So this is how things are going quite in a favorable way. And if we see the record, in India, almost 50% of the people have been they have been come out of COVID, and they have been tested negative of COVID. So that's
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It seems like India is working great for protection of human rights. Buses are being managed for migrant workers to go to their destination, and also you have a proper bail procedure for prisoners. Thank you so much. I'll be asking same question to our guest from Nepal, Praveen sir. I'd like to know what are the steps taken by judiciary, human rights commissions, government, and as well as this law society for protection of human rights during this COVID-19 pandemic in Nepal.
Yeah, in regard to the question, like I'd like to start from law society. Like there are a number of lawyers who has been filing cases. Like firstly, they asked the government to do certain things. For example, there was a first case before this lockdown when there was pandemic in China. There was a first case filed in court of Nepal saying to rescue the Chinese and the Nepalese student who were stranded in China. So court also entertained that application, although there was already a decision from government to bring them back in Nepal. So court didn't issue any kind of interim order. But what I'm trying to say is that the lawyers or legal community, they have been continuously working to get intervention or go through judiciary for protection of various kind of rights of Nepalese people who are here in Nepal as well as in abroad. So in regard to judiciary, our judiciary, it has been very positive in regard to protection of human rights and various rights of Nepalese people. For example, it has issued an order saying that the children who are in reform center should be released with giving them custody to their parents. So by that decision, there are very few children who are now in reform houses. So what the problem is that they need to go to the court to receive those kind of order. It's not like blanket kind of order, but they need to proceed with an application to the court, and then court will give them a release order. And also, the person who are convicted with punishment less than 1 year, they can follow the similar procedure. They can give application to court, and court will release them. And in regard to the activities of court has issued an interim order saying to rescue the Nepalese citizens who are abroad, also who are stranded in Nepalese border, and bring them back to their home. That was an interim order given by government, and as per that order, government has rescued the people from border, and also it has been working to rescue the people from abroad. So according to today's news, and we are also having a budget speech right now. So Nepal government has allocated budget for bringing them back to Nepal. So, and it has also issued an interim order regarding not to implement use of force. Like there was a decision from government authority in one of the district in Nepal to use force for arresting or to bring the people into custody, those people who are like infected with coronavirus or COVID-19. So government, what it had decided was to use force if they try to flee away or they try to get away from the hospital. So government issued an order to use the force. So yesterday, what Supreme Court did is that they cannot use what Supreme Court interpreted is that they cannot use force in for those kind of patients. So Supreme Court also stayed that order of administration. And previously, Supreme Court also noted the inhuman and cruel treatment that was done by various police authorities in name of implementing the lockdown. So Supreme Court also took note on that issue as well. And it also issued various interim order in regard to relief package, not to discriminate any person on the name of nationality for relief package, because there was requirement posed by government to have national identity or driving license for getting relief package. So what Supreme Court did is that it issued an order not to implement that kind of criteria for distribution of relief package. And also it gave an order realizing the right to health or right to primary health. Supreme Court also issued an order to not to implement the COVID investigation using high amount of money for the person who has very low income. So and also it also has given order to extend the wide examination of COVID-19 in various parts of Nepal. So these are the activities, or these are the interim order that has been given by Supreme Court of Nepal. And talking about National Human Rights Commission, which is also a watchdog for implementation or monitoring of human rights situation in Nepal, it has enacted, or it has made its working procedure for monitoring of human rights during COVID-19. It is a specific working procedure that has been made by National Human Rights Commission for monitoring what is the situation of human rights present in this pandemic situation. So it has also issued an circular, or it has also issued various kind of order time and again in the name of government for proper implementation of human rights. For example, it has stated to make the fertilizer seeds available to in the market, because this pandemic situation, it's a very extraordinary situation. So government should not halt everything. So what National Human Rights Commission stated to government is to make such kind of fertilizers or the stuff that are required by farmers available easily in market. So that was one of the things that was done by National Human Rights Commission. And also in regard to the upcoming budget, National Human Rights Commission has specifically given directive to government to prioritize people's right to health in today's budget, and that is upcoming budget, to cope up with this pandemic situation. And it has also given various orders. For example, it has appealed the government of Nepal and business person in Nepal to make everything very normal in regard to supplies of basic requirement of people, and also basic requirement that is required by babies or children. And it has also directed for easy availability of daily requirements that is required by people. And like that has been done by court, National Human Rights Commission has also ordered government to make easily available test of this COVID-19 virus. So it has also, National Human Rights Commission has also visited various prisons. It has been stated in their report that they have visited various prisons around the Nepal to monitor what is the situation of prisoners in prison of Nepal. And it has also been monitoring the quarantine places and see whether the way of living or whether the basic requirement has been properly maintained by government or not. So overall situation, this is a very extraordinary situation. So Court of Nepal, as well as National Human Rights Commission, as well as various legal fraternity of this country, has been working like hand in hand to tackle down this situation. And importantly, what we have been doing is we have been pressurizing our government to rescue the people who are outside Nepal, because they have the right to return. So we have been advocating to rescue the people who are like awaiting their government to have something for them. So overall, all these institutions, they have been working to tackle this situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It seems like in all of these three countries, there are steps being taken for protection of human rights, and the common thing overall is this looking after of prisoners and how these steps are being taken to control spread of COVID-19 in prison. It seems like in Nepal and in Bangladesh and India, many steps are being taken. We have few questions from our viewers. Let's go to these. Here, question is regarding practicality of digitalization of judiciary. So the question goes like, how reliable and affordable is this digitalization of judiciary in present context in these South Asian countries? So any of the guests could answer this question. How reliable and affordable is this digitalization of judiciary in present context?
It's not reliable. I would say the way we are communicating with the court is not reliable because the mail we are sending, except the email server, so it is on Gmail. So we had no arrangement with the Gmail or Google to protect my data. So there may be some information which actually sensitive and required for national security. So it is not protected. So if you go through the service agreement of the Zoom, you will see that there is a clause, the Zoom authority may disclose the information to the US government. So this open platform is not secured at all. In Microsoft, most of us are dealing with the Microsoft Team free. So we had no specific agreement. In Bangladesh, UNDP is providing assistance for providing training to the judges and the court staffs. But there is no explicit agreement between Microsoft and Bangladesh or Bangladesh Judiciary or Supreme Court regarding the data protection and data confidentiality. So the way we are now handling the virtual hearing of the courts is completely not secured. So it may be vulnerable at any moment because we don't know when we had no other preparation, because after starting of the pandemic, our president promulgated an ordinance. So before pandemic, we could not have thought this. We actually need. There was a project. Project was planning, and project was taken into the cabinet, and 3,000 crore taka has already been budgeted for e-judiciary. But this pandemic comes very earlier than the project implementation date. So the things what are going right now is completely not secured in form, and it may be vulnerable in future. And there is a chances of piracy or chances of fraudulent activities, because in COVID situation in our country, lawyer cannot go out. So what they are doing, they are writing the petition, they are printing in their home, and they are sending it to the court through email. So even some cases, lawyers do not have any contact with their clients. So what statement they are making in their petition is completely a burden of a lawyer. So lawyers are doing this because that lawyer thinks that they have a good confidence with his client. That's why they are doing. But who knows? The client may do the bad thing. The client may do the fraudulent activity. So in blindfold, just we are observing that that person is in custody. So we need to bring them out because he may be in vulnerable situation. So we are filing applications. This is completely unsafe and unsecure. But I will say, since there is a complete closure or no non-operation of the court system in Bangladesh, this virtual hearing is somehow good, and it should. It has started a new arena. So it will. I think it will be It will be a permanent structure of our judiciary ones. But I'm not completely agree with this permanent picture of virtual things, because law is a different kinds of thing. So teaching of a student in classroom and virtual delivery of lecture is completely
Are
different.
two different things.
Today I had an opportunity along with my wife to my wife is a lawyer. We had an opportunity to see virtual operations of the court for the first time. We took participated from our home, and our petitions were already shown affidavit. So that was an validity and authentication, because the client came to the court and swear affidavit before the court commissioner. So we had that copy in our hand, petition copy, and we scanned it and send it mail. So that is authentic and we can rely. But there are some petitions which has no connection of the clients. So it is in COVID situation, a lawyer has to secure himself from not getting the virus affected. So it is very difficult now in this situation. So the situation, the virtual hearing has started, but I think it will be a challenge in future, because now only bail matter is heard, but in civil litigations, lots of pending issues are there. In commercial transactions, I have been dealing with a case where I have found that LC payment has to be stopped because the importer committed a fraud upon the party in Bangladesh. Bangladesh party was an importer, but the exporter was committed a fraud. So, in LC, bank has a rare chance to stop the LC. So what to do? We need to file a case before the district judges court and seek for injunction. But due to the complete non-operation of the district courts, there was no opportunity of original filing. In High Court, we know that there are some specific criteria for original filing. In company matters, we file original cases in High Court. In admiralty matter, we file cases directly in the High Court. But in district judges court, all the civil matters, pending matters, we cannot file. And there are some also problem in filing of negotiable instruments.
Sir, so there are problems because these applications are not safe enough, and the software and applications that we use are some kind of foreigner applications. But Anurag sir, as I have seen in the Supreme Court's online website that in India, this circular has been passed, and there is a different application, a video application, which would be used for pleading in online in India itself. So, how reliable is this one? Because this is the application which is introduced by the Supreme Court itself. So, how reliable and how feasible do you think this application is?
In India, we don't trust Zoom at all. There have been a lot of statements from the government also and from other institutions also regarding this. But from very long time, the courts have been using their own softwares for case details and other things. So here we have indigenous softwares for such things. But yes, the vulnerability of being intrusion cannot be denied, especially like in some matters where authenticity has to be determined. So we cannot go to virtual hearing in all sorts of matter. But for some matters like interim bail or some petty offences or in matters where the detailing is not much important, in those kind of matters virtual hearing can be appreciated. But for other civil cases, as our friend said, so in those kind of matters virtual hearing cannot be appreciated. Further, like there are instances when a report has to be seen with like whether something is written by hand or it has been printed, or things which have to be judged physically, which have to be seen physically. So in such cases virtual hearing cannot be entertained the way things are going right now. But it's just a temporary measure. So as of now, it's fine, but in long run, we cannot rely on this.
Thank
As
you,
far
sir.
as transparency or the authenticity is concerned, as of now, we have not seen anything like that that could raise question on it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Advocate Anurag, sir. Let's proceed to next question from viewers. There is a question particularly for our guest from Nepal. And question goes like, many migrant workers are lacking shelter, food and health facilities on their way back home. This is a situation being seen in Karnali Pradesh of Nepal. So, what can judiciary and this legal sector could do to prevent such kind of violation of human rights over there? This is a question from one of our viewers right now.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And in regard to the stranded people who are abroad, like judiciary has already given its order saying that it is right that those people has, according to various international obligation that Nepal has been party of, to get back to Nepal because they have right to return back to Nepal. So court has already given its interim order to bring those people to Nepal. But the problem is bringing them back to Nepal certainly or within day or two is very impossible. Like it's next to impossible for Nepal government because there are many people who are abroad and government needs to facilitate, and then its government also needs need to have resources. They also need to have proper plan and plan of action to how to quarantine those people back in Nepal. So according to according to the news article and newspaper, Nepal government has already initiated the procedure to bring them back to Nepal. And certainly there is impact on human rights, and Nepal government has to be answerable to court because it is a court's order. If they do not implement or if they are reluctant in implementation of that order, then that will be contempt as per law of Nepal. So they need to implement by any way, but we need to also see on the part of government that they need to have proper plan of action and also allocate resources. So let's be positive that the government will certainly bring those our citizen or our national back to Nepal. And if they do not do, then they should be answerable to various international forum because Nepal government should report or should provide answer to various international forum. And also, if they do not implement the court order, then that will also result into contempt of court.
Thank you, sir. We are almost towards the end of the program. Let's go to the last question for today's session. It is more practical to we youngsters and to be lawyers. So the question goes like this. Since last 3 months, we are under this COVID-19 lockdown, and we are sure that this COVID-19 would be hampering this legal sector. So how do you think this is affecting we law practitioners, and especially regarding job opportunity for us young lawyers? So what are the chances of our opportunity in future, and what could be done to secure this opportunity in Bangladesh and in India and in Nepal for helping us young lawyers? So I would like to go with Sir from Bangladesh, please.
At present, the young lawyers has a lot of works in their hand, but they had less opportunity to do. This is the situation because lawyer earns when they do some work. It is because lawyering is not a profession, it's not a service or job. So at the end of the month, lawyers may not have some money or may have huge money. With all the young lawyers of Bangladesh, there is a lot of work in their hand, but they had rare opportunity to do because a limited jurisdiction is open because our court is entertaining only bail matters. So in that perspective, before Eid festival, there's some opportunity of the lawyers to work, and mostly because of the virtual court hearing, the young lawyers are getting more advantageous position because they know the technology uses of the technology, and in some cases they are also giving aid to the seniors. Their seniors, sir, we need to do this by this way. We need to use this software. We need to scan this way. So I think these sort of things also create their opportunity. But in the long run, if court do not entertain its full jurisdiction or full operation, do not go its full operation, then a lawyer will be more vulnerable in Bangladesh, because some steps have already been taken by the bar councils, the respective bar associations, to give or to provide them some loan based on their length of practice. So by that, receiving that loan facilities, lawyers can run themselves for 2 months or hardly for 3 months. But if if work opportunity is not opening further, then I think young lawyers will face more problem in future. But the other hand, I am seeking, I'm expecting hope, because if we can manage our court by maintaining social distance, I think a big opportunity is waiting for the lawyers in future, and in some particular field, like in commercial disputes, in banks matter, in money loan courts, lawyer will have a very big opportunity, because transactions are completely stopped. So some borrowers cannot pay their loan, banks are filing cases against them. So, and some company may go for liquidation, and there may be some insolvency proceedings in court. So lawyers will have more work opportunity in future if this pandemic runs. But that actually needs by our court to consider that it has opened all jurisdiction to exercise.
Thank you, sir. Same question to Anurag, sir. What are the opportunities that you see for young lawyers in case this COVID-19 pandemic runs, or considering the hampering that it has caused to judiciary? And we have seen that in Bangladesh Bar Association has taken initiative. And are there any initiative taken by Bar Association in India so far?
Of course, yes. In India, various bar associations and bar councils have taken initiative. They are providing financial assistance. Like in Delhi, they are providing 5,000 rupees to the lawyers who are in need. So they have to provide the basic details as to where they live, whether their premises residence is rented or their own. Like this, certain information is being asked, and on the basis of that, they are being scrutinized and they are being provided with financial assistance. And as far as the young lawyers are concerned, with regard to their future or opportunity in the future, I have a bit different opinion. See, in this profession, the young lawyers, initial 3 years, 5 years, these are the times of learning. So, if you ask any of the big lawyer, you'll see that when he started with zero earning. Either he was working with some senior, or he was working for free, or he was working for very less price. Now, looking at the situation when there is no work, it is very rare to see that someone will trust a young lawyer, a newcomer, to hand over a bail petition or a matter which is of urgent nature. So in the near future, young lawyers are going to face a lot of problem with respect to it. Because another aspect is also that young lawyers learn from the courtrooms. When they see the seniors arguing in before the judges, when they see intense argument, when they see the law, the way it is being presented before the court, so they are present in the courtroom, they see, they learn. But due to the COVID situation, due to social distancing, it is very improbable to say that the normal functioning will resume anytime in future, maybe in next 2-3 months. So in this regard, young lawyers will have a little problem. I'd say this is the time for the young lawyers to focus more on knowledge, to read more judgments, to get a hold on the law, so that when things normalize, they have a stronger hand, they have a better idea, they have a better standing towards the law, they have better knowledge. So in that regard, they may have a better future, maybe after 7-8 months or maybe a year, but not in near future. So the only thing I'd say that this profession needs patience. So as to the young lawyers, I would suggest to have patience, to focus more on knowledge, and with time things will normalize, and everything will become normal. And as far as the virtual hearing, I'd say there are many lawyers who have a lot of cases, and it is not possible for them to attend all the matters, to give their physical appearance. So what they do, they hire a lot of juniors. Maybe a good lawyer would have around a big lawyer would have around 13 to 14 or maybe 15 or sometimes 20 juniors. So they will be going to different courts, attending the matter. So that is also an opportunity when you stand before the court, when you uh, argue small matters, small applications, that gives you confidence. But if the virtual hearing continues, they give time slots. The council will be able to handle different courts in a single day. So that is also going against the young lawyers. So I'd say that the courts would definitely take a note of it. That's how to safeguard the interest of young lawyers. So I'd say that it's time to have patience and focus more on knowledge than earning right now.
Thank you, sir. Always we could hope for better, and of course, we'll be gathering knowledge for betterment. So I'd like to ask same question to our representative from Nepal. What the question have been split into two now, like after hearing these answers from Bangladesh and India. The first one is the situation of young lawyers and what are the problems, how can they be solved? And next one is what are the steps taken by Bar Association in this present situation? So I would like you to answer this.
Yeah, in this situation, lawyers are mostly affected. Like they are not salaried. They are like very what to say. They work the entire day for their food in the evening. Like they are of such kind. Particularly young lawyer, because young lawyer they do not have saving. They are struggling for establishing their career. They earn very less. So these lawyer, like this group of lawyers, are mostly affected. And seniors may have saving, but the juniors they do not have saving. So what Nepal is doing is Nepal Bar Association has already started to collect some amount of money from lawyers of Nepal, the senior advocates from Nepal and abroad, and they are also preparing a procedure guideline for distribution of the relief package to lawyers based on their experience and based on their situation. So more likely they will start with relief package sooner. And government has also been positive in providing loans to these kind of professionals or these kind of students in the name, keeping their certificate or showing their certificate for getting a loan. So this is also what our government and our bar has been doing. And in regard to what the young lawyer can do is they can start with other activities which is not related to court, because court is not open or court is closed, but other activities, for example, reading, writing, and creating exposure, like previously friend from Bangladesh said. And I also believe that there are many issues or many sectors that has been opened up. For example, the issues of contract, issues of construction law, and also in this pandemic situation, we have also started to develop pandemic jurisprudence from all around the country. So young lawyer, they can select area for themselves to have expertise, have the exposure in that area, so that people, when everything is resumed, will notice that, okay, this particular person has a lot of knowledge, or he or she has been doing a lot of research in this area, so he has a good idea about this. So what I suggest to young lawyer is not to stop or not to halt or not to lock down their reading and writing activities. So if they read and write in this free time, because I consider it free time, and also although they do not earn right now, but that labor or that effort will give them cash after some amount of time. And in regard to this virtual hearing, I think young lawyer will benefit because of ease and access to technology. Because compared to old lawyers who are not like feasible or who are not used to with technology, new lawyers can also take this as opportunity, or if client believe, of course, if client believe, they can have ease, and they will be feasible, or they will be comfortable using this technology. So that might also be plus point. And we have also realized that in this situation, there are a lot of areas that we can work. So lawyers or young lawyers or fresh graduate, they can start these kind of activities. Like right now, this Parivartan is also doing a very good and very new kind of discussion in this virtual platform. And doing this kind of activities will also result into good exposure, and that will certainly contribute in their professionalism later on.
Thank you, sir. We are almost out of time. Still, our viewers are demanding for a question. So, if you are okay, I'll be proceeding to next question from our viewers. The question goes like this: in this period, due to this lockdown, many emotional issues are being raised, and especially for children, they are having tough time because children and women are going under this domestic violence. There are many cases being reported. What are the steps being taken in all these three countries regarding this emotional sides and domestic violence related issues for women and children? This is what our viewers have asked, and I would like any one of you to answer.
Well, like in India, it is in the beginning only the lockdown started with a Janta curfew. So what happened? The Prime Minister himself came and requested the people that let's not go out of house. Let's stay for one day, and let's get locked down for 14 hours. And it was quite successful. So the leaders themselves are coming out. They are speaking directly so that people are, they feel that they are strong, they are bonded strong. Like once we are what happened that everyone came to their balconies and they made some noise to cheer the hospital people working in hospitals and police personals, like that. Then in another occasion, the Air Force showered some flour over the hospitals and other people, like that. So some or the other, some incidents keep, like, things keeps on happening, that people don't feel that they are going down or they are losing this battle. There is always an effort from the government side, also from the other people also, and especially in the times of web series, there are a lot of web series, everything. So this online platforms, they are playing a crucial role over it. And as far as domestic violence is concerned, the police is always there. There have been certain things reported like this, I know in person. So in those cases, the police has immediately provided them help, and things are quite normal. So I think both the governments or the people, people who are social activists, or people who are from the entertainment industry, or people, like everyone, whatever they can do, they are trying to do their best. And I think uh, the way trends are going on, I think we are winning this battle.
Thank you, sir. What about the situation in Bangladesh? These emotional sides and also violence against.
In
Sir.
Facebook walls, there are some issues, those who are going viral, and in some newspaper where we are having also some reports of domestic violence, and in TV scroll we are also seeing it. But in our country, there is yet to organize any report for this, because in COVID-19 the researchers are also containing in their home. So what we have now in our hand, that is based on newspaper reports and TV information and Facebook virals. So I think what is the picture, the total picture, it is not safe for me to comment on this, but definitely it creates some mental agony or psychological problem among the citizens of this country, and mostly the single mother or the childrens are mostly in vulnerable situations. And there are another groups who are being called prostitutes, and I am also observing a newspaper for last 2 months. They have no earning, practically they have no earning, And like these, the transgender peoples are also have no earnings at all. So their rights are violated. So since COVID is not in peak, but it is going to peak in Bangladesh. So in the researchers are also yet to do any research and authentic information and data. But it is happening. It is happening in Bangladesh, like other countries. So without having any data, I shouldn't say more than this.
Thank you, sir. We also have a question from a viewer from Bangladesh. She says that from 31st May, a decision is going to be made whether there will be partial or total lockdown. So, what would be the situation? How do you think this would hamper our fundamental rights? Right to health is our basic rights, and this might hamper the spread of COVID-19. So, what do you think about this situation that the Supreme Court has this meeting, and from 31st of May, there might be a partial or full open of the lockdown in Bangladesh?
There is a full opening of all sort of offices, government offices, private offices, and business. But on the other side, government has imposed some restrictions. Now, it's a very important, and it is individualistic approach. From individual approach, I would answer. A government has opened all the things, but for my safety, I will not go out from home. So it is my point of view. But there are some other persons who needs to go outside. So I cannot I cannot measure his needs that he needs to go. So by getting this opportunity, he is going out. So because he needs his livelihood to be earned. So this is a mixed type of feelings. So you will, I would say, this may violate some people's fundamental rights, but on the other hand, it may not violate the other fundamental rights, because these are it's a confronting situation. So my right of health is now opposite in the another person's right of life by their livelihood. So this is a very complex situation, and government also saying that for continuing the economic progression, they need to take this sort of decision. If they could stop all the things for years after years, there is no problem. But government, on the other hand, the financial experts needs to take their GDP growth intact, and they will try to shoot up the GDP growth. So it will be a very mixed sort of things in our country. So once rights of violation of rights is another person's right of enforcement, this sort of thing may mixed sort of things may arise in future. So there may be some important jurisprudence, that is one of our guests said that pandemic jurisprudence may arise, and we need to think of it in future.
Thank you, sir. Of course, duty of one should promote right of others. So this right and duty should go in balanced way. So let's hope for better. May this partial or full exposure of lockdown would also bring kind of positive impact in Bangladesh. So we are almost at the end of this session. We are 70 minutes. We have taken 17 minutes more than our time, but it was a very productive session. We are very thankful to our guest today, Advocates Sakran Ibon from Bangladesh, Advocate Anurag Singh from India, and Advocate Pavin Subedi from Nepal. We are very thankful to you all. Thank you so much, sir. And we are very thankful to our supportive audience today, and we are extremely sorry we are not able to take few of your questions due to lack of time. And we hope to get this support in days to come. And Parivartan Parisambad would be back soon with another energetic and informative episode. Please follow us. Please look forward for next episode in our Facebook page. Till then, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our guests and to our supporters. Stay safe, stay home. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you.